Welcome to another episode of The Bug Bite, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about Samsung notifying us that hackers have accessed customer data during a year-long breach. But before we get into that, if you are new to the channel, I hope to add tons and tons of value into your life. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time we go live, whether we are doing software explorations, whether we are dropping recorded videos talking about candid conversations, or we're doing concept and overviews, or we're talking about the bug bite, or we're going live. All the different things that we do so much here, and I want you to be in tune with everything. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, notification bell, like the video, share the video, and follow along on this amazing journey that we're on. And, go ahead and learn something and level up your technical skills today. All right. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the topic of today, which is Samsung and their data breach. So let's get going. All right. So Samsung says hackers access the customer data. This article is brought to us by TechCrunch. So let's get into it. All right. So it says, Samsung has admitted that hackers accessed the personal data of the UK-based customers during a year-long breach of its system. In a statement to TechCrunch, Samsung spokesperson Chelsea Simpson, representing the company via a third-party agency, said Samsung was recently alerted to a security incident that resulted in certain contact information of some Samsung UK eStore customers being unlawfully obtained. Samsung declined to answer further questions about the incident, such as how many customers were affected or how hackers accessed their internal systems. In a letter sent to affected customers, Samsung admitted that attackers exploited a vulnerability in an unnamed third-party business application to access the personal information of customers who made purchases at Samsung UK stores between July 1st, 2019 and June 30th, 2020. So this is from we're in 2033. So like 4 years ago, between July 1st and 2019 and June 30th, 2020, these hackers were able to access the customer's data. And here we see it again, right? Because last week when we reviewed it for who was that last week? For Okta, right? Or 2 weeks ago for Okta. When we did the Okta breach, right? What happened was through a third party, they were able to access the Okta employees' information. And this one through an unnamed third party, they were able to access personal information of customers who made purchases in an actual store this time, right? So it says in a letter which was shared on X, formerly Twitter. I wonder, do they have to always now? Are we at the point that we know that X is what Twitter used to be? Do they always have to mention formerly Twitter? Anyways, I digress. In the letter, which was shared on X, formerly Twitter, Samsung said it didn't discover the compromise until more than 3 years later on November 13, 2023. Samsung told affected customers that hackers may have accessed their names, phone numbers, postal addresses, and email addresses. No financial data such as bank or credit card details or customer passwords were impacted. Samsung spokesperson told TechCrunch, adding that the company had reported the issue to the UK Information Commission Office. ICO spokesperson Adele Burns confirmed to TechCrunch that the UK Data Protection Regulator is aware of the incident and will be making inquiries. The incident is the third data breach that Samsung has disclosed in the past 2 years. In September 2022, the company confirmed in a brief notice that attackers had accessed some information from some of Samsung's US systems, but declined to say how many customers were affected. Prior to this, in March 2022, Samsung confirmed that it had suffered a breach after lapsus hackers claimed to have obtained and leaked almost 200 gigabytes of confidential data from the company's systems, including source code for various technologies and algorithms for biometric unlock operations. So yeah, so that is the article, right? So they accessed it through a third party. And here's a comment I want to make about something that I read, right? So the hackers had access to their names, phone numbers, postal addresses, and email addresses, right? So although no financial data such as bank or credit card details or customer passwords were impacted, the thing is, right? You can like there's a lot that you can get from this information over here, right? And it gives you an ability to start like social engineering if you want to go that route, right? And another thing, right? Let's say the hackers set up like phishing sites. They can be sophisticated and set up like a phishing site that looks like Samsung, and then use a so let's say you have this information, right? And it's in like a spreadsheet or CSV format, right? So it has their names, phone numbers, postal addresses, email addresses. Let's say you take the names and the email addresses, right? And you set up a phishing site and you set up a email thing where it sends out, it says also dear, and then it says the name, because the people who were hacked, they were Samsung customers. So you set up something that looks like a Samsung, you set up an email that looks like it's coming from Samsung, you say, dear, I'm John Smith, right? And it goes, you something about your Samsung account, and we need you to click on this link to sign in, so that you can get this, right? It's something that sounds legit, right? So now, a lot of people, they're unsuspecting to these phishing sites, and that's how they get hacked, right? So even though that the financial data, bank or credit card or whatever, it was not impacted, you can still use this data right here to do some serious damage, because you can get the let's say this happens, right? So you send this phishing email to, let's say it was like 100,000 people who are affected, right? You send the email, and then these, let's say half of them, or not even half, let's say 10%, right? Of them actually go ahead and enter their email, their password, their email address and their password that they were using to log into Samsung, right? So now, once that happens, so now of 100,000, 10% is 10,000, right? So now you can actually have the password for 10,000 of these people. And then and a lot of times people reuse the same password all over the place. So now you can start using that password that you captured and go and try it on a bunch of different sites. So you have their email address, you have their password, right? And you can go and try it on a bunch of different sites that require that use not a username to log in, but it uses an email address to log in. And now you have the password. You can go and try to catch that. And then like, so what if you go to try different bank sites? So many different ways that, like, even without this financial data, you can still do a lot of harm with this information itself. And trust me, there are very sophisticated ways that you can send a mass amount of emails, and you're using like their actual names because you have that information, you have their email addresses, and then you can have them to go and do something on some site that you set up where you can capture more data. So like, you can, on the phishing site, you can say, okay, enter your credit card information so that something gets processed, or you get entered to do something. Who knows, like something. These hackers are very creative in the way that they market, right? So now you might be giving up your credit card information, you might be giving up your password, and they can start accessing other places, make charges. So many things can go wrong in this situation. And that's why it's very important that, like, so they're going to try to downplay the severity of it, but just thinking about all the things that I've seen, and all the cybersecurity trainings, social engineering trainings, compliance trainings, this is like, this amount of information getting out is still very damaging and can severely hurt customers. So you got to be very careful. Like these, whether it's a third party, like we spoke about this the other day, right? Let's go back to here. Let's go back to here. So even though that information didn't technically get out, it can do a lot of damage with the information that is out, right? And that's why these companies need to very thoroughly vet their vendors, the third party companies that have access to their systems, or what they're able to do, because although you might have your systems locked down, right, through the integration that you have with these third parties, they might be smaller companies, they might not be as secure. That's why it is so important to do audit of your vendors, right? You have to audit your vendors to make sure that their systems are secure and that you're not like that your customers, because your customers are not customers of that third party vendor. They have no contract or obligation with them. So if those third party vendors they have a breach and they end up leaking your customers' information, you are in trouble for that. You are liable for that. So you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your customers. You have to properly vet, spend the money to audit these vendors, because if they have a problem, then that is also your problem, because you are the one who are affecting your customers. It's not the third party vendor who's affecting them, because you might be able to sue them and everything like that, but your reputation gets harmed, and you have to protect yourself no matter what scale company you are, because these hackers were in the system for over a year, who knows what they were doing? Who knows what they have done? So you have to protect yourself. You don't want to put your customers in a vulnerable position, right? So that's what I'm going to leave you with. That's what I wanted to share. This has been another episode of The Bug Bite, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph. If you haven't done so yet and you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, check out the Patreon and the Patreon link in the description to see all of the information that we're dropping. So much information all over the place. Reach out to me, leave a comment. Let me know if you agree, disagree, like the video, you don't like the video, whatever the case. Let's have a conversation. I am here to talk to you. And until next time, this has been another episode of The Bug Bite, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph. And on that note, this is Tech Coach Ralph signing off.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.